What is going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of the Easy Button Real Estate Podcast with Mr. Tucker Merrihew and myself here in early March, I guess going on mid-March. Time's flying by. Tucker, how are things down in sunny Florida for you right now, the past
It's
week?
uh it's a nice week. It's 87 sunny today, so feels like summertime. Although I'm sure you guys are probably still pretty warm in San Diego, but things are good. We're busy on the rental side, and we're getting cranking. Obviously on the construction side for our big new build. Even looked at another potential little property yesterday, dog shit house. You know they have cat shit houses. This is a dog shit house. Almost bought it like 2 years ago, but the guy decided he didn't want to sell and didn't have anywhere to go. And now he's kind of getting forced out just because it's just so filthy in there that he's got to go, I don't know, some sort of a care home or something like that. But so we'll see. I threw out a really low number and they said, yeah, maybe it sounds reasonable-ish, I guess. So we'll see what happens there. But yeah, we're cranking, man. Things are good. What about you? How's things over on the West Coast?
Good, man. We guys got crazy weather in sense of like hot. Like this week again, Thursday through Sunday, it's going to be mid-90s. Which is like, it shouldn't, usually in March, yeah, it's spring, you're back in, low 80s a lot of the time. And it's like, that's like my favorite time of the year. I'm not a big like 90s guy. Like once it gets 93, 95, it's too hot on the golf course. It's just, it's just not as enjoyable. I remember actually one of the last times we were in Naples when we all went out and took Tyler out and played like the day where it was like 92 and the guy had like shirts draped because he wasn't climatized at all the heat, so he had like shirts draped around his head. And
Oh yeah, he was playing really well to start too, and I kept telling you, I was like, just wait,
real win.
yeah. Wait till the back nine. The heat and humidity will get to him a little bit, and he'll start falling apart. And I don't know if it was that, but it definitely helped. Yeah, it definitely helped.
Yeah, things are good. It's hot. We're outside. Yeah, I mean, it's just crazy. Some days I'll be driving home and I look up and like it's sunny for like I don't remember the last time it wasn't sunny. And, for most of my life, it was the opposite. It's like, I don't remember the last time I saw the sun. And you start to take it for granted, but I've really been trying not to just because of like my baseline happiness level and enjoyment level. Some days I'm driving to the office and kind of everything's going to shit work-wise. And I'm like, still pretty happy because it's nice out and you kind of do whatever. It kind of creates a different dynamic than I've ever had. And I've been here for almost 6 years, but I still have to like wake myself up to, oh, this isn't normal. People still don't choose to live in this, which is crazy to me. But so that's been fascinating to me and how that's impacted my work. Obviously,
There's a gal that was in the real estate community in Portland that I know, knew her when I was there too, obviously, at an arm's distance, but knew her. And she moved to Florida, I don't know, maybe a couple of months ago, something like that. Just, random that her and her family did. And she kind of said that exact same thing. She's like, oh my God, I didn't know how much weather dictates my general like well-being and overall level of happiness on a daily basis. And it's like, it really does. And it's the same thing that I learned when I first got here, 6 months-ish in. And it's, been proven over and over again ever since. But I was going to ask you, did you see that headline in San Diego? They have like a second home tax or something they're trying to create.
The vacant house tax, dude.
Yeah, to prevent, because they think that it's preventing affordable housing or something. So
Yeah.
this is going to be a deterrent to it. Seems like kind of a crazy idea.
Yeah, there's a couple weird things coming out. One of them also, I don't know if it's the same one, but I know there's a bill proposed for a vacant house tax too. And I think where a lot of the thought process comes on these things is, one of them was in Seattle when all people from Canada and China were buying up Seattle real estate as legacy housing and just leaving them vacant. And they banned that because obviously it's eating up inventory from, new families and rentals. I think there's that thought process down here, but it's just crazy what they, as you see Washington too, they propose in Washington the like 18% income tax on wealthy people if you're in Seattle. And then if you're outside of city limits, it's 12% across the whole state if you're making it. I think it's $1 million or more. And then they'll bring it down to everyone. But it's just crazy the kind of stuff that's getting proposed right now, while we're spending $11 trillion a week or whatever to keep bombing different places. It's, they're creating new state income taxes and stuff. It just blows my mind.
Yeah, you can't, I mean, that was the allure to Washington, in a lot of ways for big business and high earners is that there was no income tax, right? There's the excise tax. I believe there's sales tax. but there's like this point of purchase type taxes, but there was no state income tax. And so then all of a sudden, if you put that on there, it's like, why do I live in the rain again just to get taxed like this for the 2, maybe 3 months a year that we tell ourselves are so amazing because the rest of the year sucks so bad weather-wise? It's like, it's the lie that everybody tells themselves, like,
Yeah.
gets trapped there, and a number of other places too. But yeah, it's crazy. You can't tax your way to prosperity, especially when you don't have the sunshine factor, which, that's why a lot of people stay in California, regardless of the taxes, is because you've got the sunshine, right? So it kind of counterbalances the cost of living a little bit. When you don't have that, it's just like, what exactly are you
What are we doing here?
providing in terms of quality of life for people? Like, you got huge homeless problems that will never be solved. You've got equally shitty traffic, and you got crappy weather 8 to 9 months out of the year. So where's the plus, right? Other than the fact that, and I have figured this out, I think to some extent, a lot of these governments, local governments or state governments, I'm sure they have the statistics on it, but they realize that there is a large amount of the population that will never leave because most of their family is there. The walls are just too high, and they can just abuse the shit out of these people. And they know that the vast majority will never leave because of all those other extenuating circumstances that keep them there. And it's just now seeing that from afar, it's just like, oh my God, it's just abuse of the people that choose to live in these states that are, there's some great things about these states, but they're definitely not the highest quality of life places to live, without
Yeah.
question.
And you look, I mean, there's real studies on this, like the psychological adaptation that has to happen when to move away from family and everything that, you have and how rare it is. Like, I've had a lot of friends move out of Seattle like I did, but they always go back. My sister recently just moved out for a job and then went right back. Just because, like, my father-in-law, she told me this when he first met me down here. I was like a year into being down here. And he's like, yeah, you don't really have your like friend group and your like groove and stuff until like year 4, year 5. Cause he also moved out here from Chicago. And it was true. I think it's hard. It's a hard thing to do. And I think also it's not just about the family net. It's just like you have to go rebuild your whole like sense of, an identity in a new place, brand new place. So I think they could raise taxes to whatever, and most people still won't migrate because it's just that it's just the comfort. It's just hard to break that dynamic. Another thing I saw is this actually blew my mind because so many cities are trying to make ADUs the savior right now. I think Seattle, San Diego, Rhode Island did this in 2025. Guess how many permits for ADUs were filed in all of 2025 in Rhode Island that came out and said, yeah, anyone can build them essentially. ADUs are gonna be the problem to solve, and a lot of the wholesalers, investors here in San Diego are just, like, targeting those lots, but guess how many in all of Rhode Island, all of 2025, how many ADU permits were actually filed?
I have no idea.
80.
80.
Yeah.
So
Less than 100.
they're gonna create 80 additional housing units, and that's gonna solve all of the affordable housing issues, yeah. Even if they did that, like,
Yeah.
per year for the next, however many years. Um, yeah, ADUs are a crazy thing. One of the things the city of Portland did, which was just scandalous as all hell, but if you built an ADU, and I doubt they've changed this, they were getting a lot of pushback for it, but who knows? If you build an ADU, they obviously reassess your property taxes because now you have an additional new structure on the lot,
Yep.
but they were using the new construction millage rate across all square footage on the lot. So your old house then got reassessed too. So you built this ADU to generate this rent and provide, cheaper form of housing or just generate additional income. And the property tax bump every year ate up virtually all of that, or if not more, on a lot of cases. So it was the most insane thing I've ever seen. So I think a lot of these ADU plays, like, they make sense in some places, but I don't know. That's not the kind of real estate I like to do personally, but I know that it makes money, and I know there's a lot of people that do it. So I'm not knocking it. It's not really my lane because it just doesn't excite me. I don't
Yeah.
like cramming in units into a
Yeah.
backyard. It just doesn't feel, I don't know. It feels like a mundane job to me if I was going to do that.
I've never driven by a house with an ADU and been like, "Oh, yeah, I wanna live there." There's some that are more well done. They kinda put up a private fence and there's a separate driveway and they feel a little more natural, but it feels like forced housing. And, it almost feels like, in China, they have those little, like, pod hotels and stuff where it's like, it's just so for and I understand we need housing. We're still, we're 4 million units short of, on housing nationwide. I understand that, but it's an interesting concept to me, especially with how hard it is to get them, especially in, like, San Diego. It still takes you 9 months to build one. And, my family down here, they built one at one of their properties, and then they were refinancing, and the bank wanted their rent roll for the refinance, but then for the appraisal, they couldn't take into account because of laws, the rent, and so the appraisal it's just a mess, and no one really knows, what standard operating procedure on them, so it's hard to underwrite. I have a like I said, I have a sales guy down here working deals, and he probably sends me 10 ADU plays a week, and they're just impossible to underwrite because no one's building them. You look 3 miles out, and you can find maybe one house that's been, of investors bought and built an ADU. So there's just like there's no solid understanding of how much value they add. And it's like a gamble. It's just a gamble is what it is right now. In a lot of places, I feel like, from what I see.
Yeah, it's a strange niche. I know it's Seattle, it's been a big thing for a while, but and it's definitely becoming, and the cottage clusters things, that's, I understand that. But again, it's just like a bunch of ADUs, boom, 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 next to each other, and it's, I don't know, it's just weird. It's like it's a condo, but you don't have shared walls, basically. And if you buy into one of those clusters, trying to sell one is the same as trying to sell a condo in a condo complex ultimately, right? And there's going to be, there's probably some common area HOA fees and stuff like that in most of these also. So it's just another version of a condo. And, my biggest joke about condos is condos are, like herpes. Once you get one, you can never get rid of it, or it's got to be a real hot market. So,
Chronic,
yeah.
a chronic condo. That's
Hmm.
so good. That's so funny. Well, one of the things that I was talking about last week on our community call was, all the keywords that are out there right now, and I wanna take the show in this direction of, everyone's talking about crash, I see '08 thrown around constantly. We're not headed anywhere positive. This has all just been a slow entry into a recession. When you look at the data, there's actually more deals out there than I think there ever has been. Prices, while prices have not been on the uptick, I think the easiest market to operate in for, real operators besides the 2020 where printing money, everything's doubling every 6 months, is just a consistent market. And more so than it doesn't always have to be necessarily a market that's on the upswing, but consistent where like buyers know, what they're gonna be paying. Sellers kinda know when the market's kinda stable. And when you look at the actual math right now, prices in a lot of areas are over the past couple months, 6 months, are kinda stable-ish. They're not amazing, right? It's not like things are selling in 20 days. Days on market here in San Diego, for example, is still, 42, 45, still in the 40s, but it's kinda stable-ish. I feel like for the first time in a while. Yeah, rates have gone down into the 5s, back into the 6s, down into the 5, back into the 6s, kinda teeter-tottering. But my message last week, and Tuck, I'm curious on your point, is I think right now is a great time to be buying and operating because all the signs and math kinda, yeah, I know we're kinda entering a war, but, when you look retroactively, our economy kinda does better during those periods, you know what I mean? So, I was looking at all the indicators I could find and kinda discussing last week with the guys and gals that were on that call is, you know, I think it's a great time to be a good operator because while things aren't 2020 amazing, we're not printing money and dancing around and, buying homes and sitting on them for a few months and making money. Things are fairly stable, and I think stable it's a pretty strong version of the market to operate in.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think we're in the weird, like, super compression time period that a lot of markets had. I mean, Cape Coral, which is north of here, a half hour, 45 minutes. It was rated like worst real estate market in America a few months ago. And a number of different magazines picked up the article and ran with it. And I just talked to a gal last night who, does a fair bit of business up there. And she said that, she personally has got 5 houses in escrow there. And so the absorption rate is picking up pretty dramatically, which tells me that market probably bottomed or, close to it in terms of pricing I don't say it's compressed about as much as it's going to compress, I think. So that's usually the sign that, how long we bounce on the bottom, I don't know. But it means that there's a floor, right? And once you have a floor under you, it always goes back up eventually. So if you're operating with this floor that's there in a market where, the average person still thinks that it's not a great real estate market, you're going to get some amazing deals once, the market starts to improve and the layman doesn't quite know that yet. It's a safe place to operate, but it also is a place or part of the cycle where you're going to have your most profitable deals, at some point in the next phase of the cycle, right? Because now we're at the bottom, and as you start to go back up, that's when people make the most money because it's easy. It's the easiest time to get great buys, and it's the easiest time to sell something for a much fatter margin than you underwrote it for.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think there's still some fringe areas people are getting hurt, like, one of the areas people are getting hurt here in San Diego is, in a hot market, you can kind of build a product or flip a product or create a product that doesn't necessarily fit the area and still get away with it. A lot of the developers, like up in Poway where we live for part of the year, there's this one developer bought like 8 lots and has built pretty modern looking, kind of, like those Arizona one-story modern kind of rambler kind of homes on big lots with, that kind of, those kind of builds, which up here they'll sell if they're on a big lot because everyone up here is kind of in the family period of their life. But this guy, 3 of them he built right on the cliff edge for like 3.5 million with 0 backyard. The way he laid these lots out, like there's 0 backyard. You walk out your back door and you fall off a cliff. And they've been sitting for, I don't know, 8 months, and he's been having to, drop the price by 100 grand every month. So I think there's still areas people should be careful of. Like, in my opinion, honestly, if you built a great career wholesaling or flipping, right now might not be the time to make a massive leap. Like, oh, I'm gonna go from, we have a client, of Easy Button. It was like, yeah, cool. I have this wholesale and flip machine, but this opportunity came across. I'm gonna build 27 units. And I'm like, yeah, maybe if that's where you want to take your career eventually, great. But I mean, we've seen even close friends, right? Talk about, we had a close friend a couple years ago put himself in a really bad spot and is no longer with us and just try to make a jump too quick. So I say on every call that I make, and I'll cross my contact constantly, there's no gold star that you get by trying to like speed race all the steps of the business instead of kind of taking them one at a time. So I still think people need to be careful, but I do think it is a great time to be in the game. And Tucker, before we move to kind of the last topic of today, talking a little more about AI, I love your opinion on that.
Well, I heard a news story yesterday that the IRS is using it to like crawl people's bank accounts and bounce that off of the tax returns that they filed. I don't know exactly how they managed to pull that off, but somebody kind of exposed them for it, if it is in fact true, um, which seems highly suspect. But AI kind of scares me a little bit because there's just there's so much that I think it will do that we don't know. I ultimately think AI is going to be the downfall of a lot of our politicians, because they're all getting rich on it now, but it'll be smart enough to expose dirt on people that they thought was forever unfindable. So I think AI will ultimately be the downfall of a lot of our politicians moving forward, but. It's crazy, man. I mean, I know, you can build websites in no time now. You can do all kinds of things that previously took a lot of money and a lot of time and, somebody that did that every day. So it definitely has sped up the process for a lot of things, and how many more things, I mean, who knows? But I'm curious what you think, because you're probably using it more than I am. And you're younger, so you're in that demographic that should know more about it. I'm like the old guy that went from a rotary phone to a cell phone.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, but younger people generally are just a little more in tune with like what they like and don't like about it.
Yeah.
So
I've been spending so much time on this because there's so many people that I see just like, on Instagram, they run a big real estate company, like, oh, look what I built. And they built this like training hub for their team. And I'm like, it's really cool that you can like build apps and build websites and do all that stuff now. But to me, it's becoming such a distraction for people. And like, I really bet you if you really looked, all these people that are installing OpenClaw and all these tools, like they probably aren't making more money than they were a year ago or 2 years ago. Um, at least a lot of them. So I think there's so many use cases for it, but I think we really all have to think about it like a tool. rather. And I made a post on Twitter that kind of went viral yesterday. We all have to think about it like a tool more than we do something that's going to change our life permanently. One of the ways I saw it put, which I think is the best way to put AI is always already trained on everything that can be trained on. It's read all the information online. It's taken all the tests. It's consumed everything. The model is like consumed all the information it possibly can. It all comes down now to the operator of that model and how you use it. And so just like business, I think if you're a great operator of business, you'll find amazing use cases for AI to make your team more efficient, to make your data more, easier to understand and visualize, to make better decisions, to move through projects more efficiently. But I think it still comes down to becoming a great operator. Just like, if you're a great operator, Zapier has been a great tool for years. If you're a great operator, there's a ton of softwares that you can use to become a better operator, but it still doesn't solve the issue. You still have to become a good operator, and you still have to kind of learn strategy and learn, what's signal and what's noise in business. And to me, that still comes with, time and reps and solving the actual issues you have. Like if you're listening to the show and you're doing 10 deals a month and you want to go to 15, or you're doing 10 deals, 10 flips a year and you want to go to 20, probably you're not going to get there by like tinkering with AI all day. Yeah, it might help you solve a part of that problem. But for most people, it's not going to build their business. It's going to be something that optimizes what they build. That's the way I think about it. And it's helped me a lot because I'm the type of guy, like I want to be cutting edge with everything and I want to master things and I don't want to be left behind. And so there's that overwhelm that comes with that, but it's helped me a lot to just look at it like any other tool and be up to date on it. Spend an hour on their Saturday, like understanding all the new models that are out there and what it can do for you. But then I try to only pick it up and use it if there's a real use case that I need it for, not just because it's kind of fun to play with.
Yeah, we're in a weird part of the cycle with AI where I think a lot of the excitement and the money that's pumped into it is about the technology itself and not as much the use cases that it provides, right? So we'll see as we move forward with it. I think that, at the end of the day, in our world of real estate, you're you're generally always going to be buying property with a big margin attached to it from older people. And older people, AI is not going to help you buy it from them. It might help you identify, properties, create a list, but then there's still marketing conversations that have to happen. You have to meet with these people, talk with them. AI is going to mean nothing to them for the most part, other than it's like, uh, Google, right? Might as well just be Google or, AOL or same idea, right? Depending on how old they are. So I think there will be a fair number of use cases for each type of business. I think big business that is overstaffed to begin with, which is, most major corporations, they'll find ways to probably eliminate a lot of their staff for these mundane tasks that, people shouldn't probably sit in a cubicle and do all day, every day anyway. It's just not a great life. So, that I think that will happen, but I can't say that, it's going to make you amazing at any business. It's just going to make you a better business
Yep.
overall. But you still have to be a great operator. If you're a shitty business person, knowing AI isn't going to do anything for you. It's
Yeah.
it's just kind of it's like a steroid for those that are already good, right? So
Yeah, look at it like this, like, and like you're a developer. Like if there was some new tool that came out where you could put up a house easily in like there's robots to go out and build. That's essentially what AI is. There's Tesla robots that you can keep in a warehouse, and when it's time to build a home, they go out there. They can work 24/7. You don't have to pay them. You just have to buy them up front, and they build the house for you. No more contractors, no more anything. Well, great, but you still need the operator to find the property, to permit the property, to spec out the property, to finance the property, to manage the property. Like you still need the operator. And I don't think that's going anywhere anytime soon. So I definitely agree with you on that. But yeah, guys, as we come to the end of the show today, it's a topic that's important. It's a topic you guys should all be up to date on what's out there and what it can do. But use it like a tool, like anything else. And if you think of it like that, it's easier to be not overwhelmed and easier to get actual use out of it as you guys run into constraints in your business. As always, you guys, we don't put paid ads behind the show. We grow it through our newsletter and word of mouth and you guys, and it's continuing to grow. And we love your feedback on That's why we doubled down on AI today, because we got great feedback, both on, listener count and you guys that show up to our community calls as well. So below the show notes, you guys, you can join our free real estate community. I do a live call in there every single week asking questions, going to different topics. We actually do 2 live calls in every single week, completely free. And other than that, a like, a review, a share means the world. And until next time, you're only one deal away.